See if we can make this as short as sweet as possible. We have one thing leads to another, so we have a lot to talk about and a lot to do as far as this whole Operation COVID. And understand that coronavirus is real, has been around for a long time. It is you and I, it is everything in this world. That's why fruit and animals test positive, all right? 18 U.S.C. 1038, false information and hoaxes. Whoever engages in any contact with intent to convey false or misleading information under circumstances where such information may reasonably be believed and where such information indicates that activity has taken, is taking, or will take place. Okay? It is going on. So let's go over here to the Quran and look at this. Okay? CNN, it's not who it's from, it's what's being said. But first, let's go to this. This is a report on emerging infectious diseases. The publication date is May of 2020. All right. Non-pharmaceutical measures. Let's go down to an abstract. And let's just find it here. Oh, let's see. Here we review the evidence based on the effectiveness of non-pharmaceutical personal protective measures and environmental hygiene measures in non-healthcare settings and discuss their potential inclusion in pandemic plans. Although mechanistic studies support the potential of hand hygiene or face masks, evidence from 14 randomized controlled trials of these measures did not support a substantial effect on transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza. Now, understand that coronavirus is supposedly smaller than influenza, right? Okay, so we identified several major knowledge gaps requiring further research, most fundamentally an improved characterization of the modes of person-to-person transmission. All right, we can keep scrolling down, and we can keep scrolling down. Here we go. Influenza virus is believed to be transmitted predominantly by respiratory droplets, but the size distribution of particles responsible for transmission remains unclear. And in particular, there is a lack of consensus on the role of fine particle aerosols in transmission. There is also a lack of consensus on whether a virus is alive or not. So if they cannot come to a conclusion on that, then how can they start mandating stuff? Hand hygiene has been proven to prevent many infectious diseases and might be considered a major component in influenza pandemics. Whether or not it has proven effectiveness against influenza virus transmission, specifically because of its potential to reduce other infections and thereby reduce pressure on healthcare services. So all this is basically theory in this article when it comes down to it for the most part. Okay. Let's keep going down here and see if I can find another bullshit stuff. Personal hygiene. They talk about in schools. They did a test on hygiene. Let me find it. There's just so much crap and trying to know all this stuff. Here we go. We further analyze the effect of hand hygiene by setting because transmission routes might vary in different settings. We found 6 studies in household settings examining the effect of hand hygiene with or without face masks, but the overall pooled effect was not statistically significant, right? That means it didn't really help. Study conducted in the United States showed no major effect of hand hygiene, whereas a study in Egypt reported that hand hygiene reduced the risk of influenza by 50%. But as we find out here later on, one study did report a major effect, but in this trial of hand hygiene in schools in Egypt, running water had to be installed and soap and hand drying material had to be introduced into the intervention schools as part of the project. So, of course, you have no etiquette of cleaning and you're going to get sick, and when you introduce it, that sickness is going to go away. That is common sense, okay? Hand hygiene is also effective in preventing other infectious diseases, including diarrheal diseases and some respiratory diseases. Respiratory diseases like bacteria, things that are alive. Diarrheal diseases, that has bacteria and stuff in it. you shit on your hands and you spread it around, you're going to get people sick and you're going to be sick, right? Respiratory etiquette, no effect. Let's go down here even further. I'll leave a link for this article. Disposable medical masks are loose-fitting devices that were designed to be worn by medical personnel to protect accidental contamination of patient wounds and to protect the wearer against splashes or sprays of bodily fluids. There is limited evidence for the effectiveness in preventing influenza virus transmission either when worn by the infected person for source control or when worn by uninfected persons to reduce exposure. Are systematic, and systematic is a hot word lately. Most of you probably never used it before this whole COVID shit started. Our systematic review found no significant effect of face masks on transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza. Worthless, basically, is what they're telling you, okay? So, surface cleaning, here we go. Let's see. Another RCT found that hand hygiene with hand sanitizers together with surface disinfection reduced absenteeism related to gastrointestinal illnesses in elementary school, but there was no major reduction in absenteeism related to respiratory illness. So, in other words, it did not help with respiratory, doing all the cleaning and all that stuff, okay? Right? A cross-sectional study found that passive contact with bleach was associated with a major increase in self-reported influenza, right? Discussion. In this review, we did not find evidence to support a protective effect of personal protective measures or environmental measures in reducing influenza transmission. So, again, what is a virus? What is an exosome? Okay, we could go on and on and on. We did not find evidence that surgical type face masks are effective in reducing laboratory confirmed influenza transmission, either when worn by infected persons or by persons in the general community to reduce their susceptibility. However, as with hand hygiene, face masks might be able to reduce the transmission of other infections and therefore have value in influenza pandemic when healthcare resources are stretched. We go on and on and on. Okay. This study was conducted in preparation for the development of guidelines by the World Health Organization on the use of non-pharmaceutical interventions for pandemic influenza in non-medical settings. This is for the CDC.gov. All right. Let's go down here and show you one more thing. Original publication date, February 6, 2020. All right. So they knew about this before they did the lockdowns, before they initiated social distancing and mask mandates. Now, so what does this mean here? Oh, let's see, where is that? Did it go away? Here we go. This was an article, and I'm sure you guys are starting to see it lately, that Trump knew the virus was deadly and worse than the flu, all intentionally misleading Americans. This is from the book report, right? So now we can expect lockdown 2.0 to come about because he's going to come out and say, I made a grave mistake. It is worse than that, yada, yada, yada. We have to lock the country back down again because now we're going to have an increased spike in cases due to Labor Day and school and summer travel and da-da-da, okay? They're just setting it up for another lockdown. Oh, what else is interesting about this is the title is about him lying about the flu, but towards the end down here, what do we turn it into? We turn it into race baiting and race, okay? Right? Because of the riots and all that stuff. So they're going to get ready to send in, bust out radical left, okay? And then here we get into the whole BLM, Black Lives Matter, okay? That also leads into this article about Homeland Security coming out with a report that states white supremacy is going to be America's most lethal threat, right? but they're going to be changing white supremacists to domestic, violent extremists. Come on. Let's open this up. All right. All three drafts state that white supremacist extremists are the deadliest threat. However, the placement and language about white supremacy in three versions of the DH draft documents differ slightly, right? Because they turn around and they call us DVEs, us white people that are not going to put up with this domestic terrorism, okay? So, expect that to progress further if you stand up against Black Lives Matter, BLM, okay, two different things, but BLM has overtaken Black Lives Matter. BLM are Marxists. So, at that point, we get into hate crimes, we get into domestic, violent extremists, anybody that opposes their fucking agenda. On top of that, you have, of course, September 17th, the Adbusters siege on the White House, which, in my opinion, and it's all theory, that they are most likely going to try to burn down the White House and finalize this commie, totalitarian, technocrat, socialist, communist, whatever fucking name you want to give it, takeover. Okay? So, plain and simple, there is a lot of treason going on right now. Okay? And it is all based off of false information and hoaxes. And then we can get into false statements relating to healthcare matters, fraud in connection with major disaster emergency release, and genocide. All right? Genocide doesn't mean you have to be killed. Causes the permanent impairment of mental faculties of members of the group through drugs, torture, or similar techniques. Torture, no contact torture. Mass, restricting your oxygen levels, decreasing your immunity. Look at hand sanitizers. There's been over 160 hand sanitizers last time I looked, brands that have been recalled. Okay? This is intentional destruction. There is a lot of conspiracy going on, and yeah, we could talk a lot about a lot, but we have to start somewhere. And this is all based off of false information and hoaxes from the fucking get-go. Smith-Mundt Act removal allows them to propagandize you and lie to you. All right? Learn your U.S. codes, learn your Constitution, and stand up to this fucking bullshit that is going on, because this is no longer about money or politics. This is about life and our future, and what the fuck are we going to do about it?